Welcome to the World of Horror Podcast, Season 4, Episode 3. I'm Mom.
And I'm Mac.
And this is the podcast where we share our love of international horror. Fear is universal, but we are not afraid of subtitles. WoHos!
WoHos!
This week, our theme is slashers. And we watched Lake BODOM from Finland and episodes 1 through 4 of the Canadian horror anthology Slasher Season 4 Flesh and Blood. Before we get into it, fair warning, these discussions will include spoilers. Let's move on to our first segment, Mom and Mac Chat. Hi Mac, how's it going?
It's going. Every time somebody asks me this question, like, when I was a kid, I kind of didn't really understand what the phrase one day at a time meant. And I think I do now. Like, I can't even point to anything. Well, I can point to the fact that I have to work a 40-hour-a-week job that I don't want to work at as like a, huge detracting point in my life. But other than that, everything's great. But that is like a big thing. Because 40 hours a week is a long time.
Yes.
And I need money to live, unfortunately. So.
Well, mostly good. I guess my anxiety is a little bit ramped up because I'm going back into the classroom tomorrow. And as we're recording this, I think the positivity rate in my town is 30%.
Oh my gosh.
And I think people consider it safe if it's at 5. So, and I'm going into a room that I believe has no windows. And also, 20 plus kids are going to be in there. It's just going to be a steady parade from 9 to noon. And, I have my hand sanitizer and my N95 mask, and I'm going to be like, don't get close to me. But they're sitting next to each other. I mean, people are inevitably going to get sick. And I don't get why the administration's doing this, because it's not in their interest for people to get sick. I just feel like they're whistling in the dark. I think that's the right expression. Just like, probably nothing can happen, but bad things are going to happen. But it's not just my school, because the person whose name I don't mention teaches in another city, and her actual husband, who she lives with, has COVID currently.
Oh gosh.
And they want her to go to work tomorrow.
This is like, and I really obviously want to say, like, my heart ultimately goes out to anybody who has to deal with this situation, because like me experiencing stress secondhand is nothing compared to like experiencing it firsthand. At the same time, I have several friends who are teachers, and then also my mom, who I love, and it's just like my blood pressure has just been operating on just like a higher point, just because like I just feel so much despair for the teachers that I know, because every teacher I know, like every single one across states, it feel like they've been hung out to dry and feel like nobody cares about their health or their well-being. And that just makes me so sad, because obviously no matter what your job is, your health and well-being are important, but also teachers in America, especially, you have to really I just know that they don't give you any help in teaching, it's like so much of that is you, and then it's also one of the most important jobs ever, just for like the health and well-being of our society. And it just is like so fucking insane that like you wouldn't be treated well or taken care of, and so it just is making me so upset.
Yeah, it's not great. I blew off the last meeting that we had. It's kind of like a back to school thing, but this is how the day was set up. Let's meet at 8:00 in this lobby and drink coffee and eat pastries. Then let's pour into an auditorium all together, like, I don't know, 500 people.
500?
And then, I don't know. And then, how about this? How about we split into small groups and we go into small rooms together? And then, this will be really fun. Let's all eat lunch together. Like I told, did I go through all this with you before?
No.
Okay, I didn't want to go. And I was like, I have a couple options. One thing is I could just tell my boss, I don't feel comfortable going. Do your worst.
Fair.
I mean, but then I was like, well, that might not fly. So I didn't want to lie. So this is what I said. I have been exposed to COVID because probably everybody has. This is the next statement. There are no tests available. True. And I don't feel comfortable going, so I'm not going to make it tomorrow. So I have to put in 4 hours of, sick time. But
I'm dying at true. Probably.
Well,
who knows? I mean,
Libby works in a hospital, and like
I went outside.
Well, so we went over to her house yesterday, and she almost told us not to come because like people are sick at her work, people are sick at Pez's work, and we went, because Libby
puppies
went and puppies. But puppies are going to different homes next weekend, so this is kind of like the last opportunity. And Quinn hadn't been able to hold a puppy yet, so. But we all wore like KN95 masks, and Libby was like, I said, I really want to hug you. She goes, we probably shouldn't. And I said, oh, shut up. And like, we hugged each other, but she's like, I just wanted to see you, but I almost canceled. And it's just, I don't know. It's just really, so the guy, I know I'm going on and on about this. I'll cut this out. The doctor who's on like the governor's staff or whatever, who gives the press conferences, he said he wears a mask all the time, but like he wears an N95 mask when he goes into a hospital, but a cloth mask when he goes to the supermarket. And I told that to Libby, and she's like, no, you should wear an N95 mask
all the time,
all
right?
the time. And
why not?
I don't know, but he said that at a press conference.
That's like against everything I've heard. Like everything I've heard has been like only use surgical or N95 masks, like throw away the cloth masks. And because that's the thing, and no offense to anybody who uses a cloth mask, I get like also helping the environment is very, very important. And if you wash it all the time, then you're the best of us and great. But like legit, like not last year, but I think even the year before when I was really looking into like, okay, what kind of masks am I going to buy and like, do for all this. And it was like, well, yeah, if you're not going to wash your cloth mask all the time, get the surgical, reusable ones and use a new one every day. So that's what I did. But now I've been using the N95 because that's what we have at work. But honestly, I've been doing the same thing as since before the pandemic. Like, I don't know. For me, my life has just kind of been not the same since before, but I mean, like I'm definitely staying home now. But when the pandemic started, I mean, I still have to go into work, but we all wear masks at work. And now they have a rule that anyone who's not vaccinated at work, which we're not allowed to know who's who, but I do want to know. Like, if people are not vaccinated, they have to get tested weekly.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy about that because I have this guy on my team who I just know because I found his Twitter is an anti-vaxxer, and just like, he also is somebody who like sometimes he'll come into my lab without wearing a mask and he'll be like, well, it's okay because we would eat lunch together. And I'm like, I'm not okay with you. Like, get away from me. But so yeah, now I'm glad that he's going to get tested. But anyways, I've just been staying in my house, going to work these whole 2 years. So for me, nothing changes. I just go to work and I go home, which is why I need a better job, because if I'm going to be spending this much of my life doing job, I want to do it from home. I have a really good friend, love her. She is not getting paid very well at her job, but she genuinely loves it and feels like a great, like, loves doing it. It's a great creative outlet for her. And I'm just like, I got to do that.
Yeah.
I got to find some way.
Yeah. I think that would be great. I mean, I really feel fortunate. I mean, aside from the administration, You know,
Mm-hmm.
I love my job. And Cole, it's like he was like, oh, totally overqualified for that job.
Mm-hmm.
And he had all these degrees and, you know, he could have been making a whole lot more money.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, but I don't want to quit because of the people. Like, and I think that's me too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and if certain people were to quit, like a certain, Quinn person were to quit, like the quality of life at my workplace would go down drastically.
Yeah.
You know, so the only last thing I wanted to say about this was somebody on social media had that meme of who's the weird kid who eats paste on The Simpsons?
Oh, I don't remember.
He's like Chief Wiggins' kid, right?
Ralph Wiggum.
Ralph. Okay. So it's a meme, you know, he's like on the school bus and he's
I know what you're.
I'm in danger. So somebody posted that because she's sending her kids back to school. And I said, it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, except you're also on the train.
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah, yeah. It's like watching the pilot die, like while you're on the plane, and you're just like, well, cool. That's great.
Well, let's get into slashers, Mac.
Let's do it.
I had mentioned to you that on YouTube, there's a channel called Cinefix, and there were some rules of slashers.
Okay.
That I wrote down. I wanted to see if you agreed with them, and maybe if we can apply them to what we're talking about today. So first, sex equals death.
Okay. Well, first, I feel like in a way there might be two different slashers to me. Like, I would define. I feel like there's classic slasher mythos, which is like, which has the hard and fast rules. But I also feel like there is a genre that is just, we have a big ensemble cast and many people die, but they don't always fit the same like mythos as the slasher. But is still one of my favorite types of shows. But that's just me.
Well, I think the classical mold has been, you know, altered so much and gotten really meta and stuff like that. But I mean, maybe these rules don't even.
But I mean, sex equals death in the older ones,
yeah,
for sure, yeah.
Immorality quickens mortality.
I mean, I guess it's so tough for me with things like this because it was something I would never notice unless somebody pointed out to me in a movie. Because like because I wouldn't notice that this was like an immoral thing that people are doing. But if somebody was like, did you see the one who's smoking now? He dies next. Like the only time I notice that is when it legit occurs with like unfortunately the stereotype of like, oh, there's a black character. Usually like in an ensemble cast, it is the black character who is killed first. Like it's almost a guarantee.
Yeah. And also I think this would kind of fit with Slasher the show on, well, we'll get into it. Never Be Alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never.
The killer is psychological trauma manifest.
I don't agree always because like Jason in Friday the 13th, like, yeah, Jason's got trauma, but also I feel like part of Jason and Michael's like the draw is like, just what if there was a brutal killing machine that was just hell-bent on killing you and your friends? I feel like that's more of the vibe. It's less of like, this is a trauma that, like, the trauma is you're all gonna die. I don't know.
If it's a hit, franchise it to shit. That's the last rule.
Amen.
So yeah, we've seen that with a lot of friends. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into Lake BODOM. So this is a Finnish movie that came out in 2016, And it's based on a real case, the 1960 Lake BODOM murders, which in the movie, it takes it that we know that background. And there's a character who is obsessed with the case and wants to reenact it. And he gets his friend to get these two girls to come along under false pretenses.
This guy is very androgynous. When he first stepped into the car with the other guy, I thought he was a girl at first. And then I kind of like looked away from the screen, and then I heard a deep voice and I was like, wait a second. And every time I looked at him, I just really was like, this is I feel like this guy could completely like just look like his hairstyle, everything about him. I was like, there's something very like feminine, but I enjoyed that. Like, I thought that was interesting. But I was from the get, I was like, first off, how old are these kids supposed to be? Secondly, is this guy with all the tattoos a teenager? And if so, there's no, like, I'm sure it exists, but I've never seen teenagers with that many tattoos.
Yeah.
Like, you need time. There's not enough time for them to fit in getting all those tattoos.
Yeah, well, right. The movie was written by Taneli Mustonen and Alexi.
Good luck.
Huaranen. I did look up how to pronounce Finnish words, but I think I heard that of that region, Finnish doesn't sound like any other language. Like if you're, you grew up in Denmark, you probably would understand somebody from Norway, but this is not the case with Finland. They're just like this.
Like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying.
But also directed by Taneli Mustonen. And I looked up the cast because I had never seen any of them before, but Mimosa Villamo, who plays Nora.
Okay.
She's bilingual. She speaks Finnish and Swedish. And she won the Best Actress Award in 2016 for this movie at the Screamfest Horror Film Festival in Los Angeles.
I did like her. Kimmy, when I visited her in college, she had somebody in her dorm who looked just like this girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, actually.
Also stars Nellie Hurstke, Santeri Helenheimo. That's the sort of androgynous looking kid. And then Mikael Gabriel, that's not his real name, but I don't know. Anyway, that's what he goes by professionally, or MG, and he's a rapper.
They look pretty old, right? Like, are they supposed to be high schoolers or college students? High schoolers, right?
I think so.
Because like she lives with her parents.
The real case, the ages are all over the place. Like I heard 14 and the girls were 14 and their boyfriends were 18, or 15 and 17, or 14 and 17. I don't know. But, the high school age people in the real case. It has a runtime of 85 minutes. And I feel like this is 3 movies. I think it has like 3 different pieces.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So the 2 teenage boys, Atta and Elias, I don't know. They trick the girls into going with them to this, mysterious Lake BODOM place. And Atta is fascinated by the case and he wants to reconstruct the crime. Ida has been rejected because there's been a rumor going around. This is a little weird, right? But there is a rumor that nude pictures were taken of her and I guess disseminated on the internet, although no one's actually seen them except her friend, quote unquote, Nora.
And she herself, it is too much a little bit for me to believe that you would not, like, she herself has not seen the photos.
Yeah.
And because the way it's supposed to have happened is that she was at a party, she gets drugged, then somebody took her into a room, undressed her, and posed her, and then, disseminated those photos. And so even her parents, like, her dad, like, hates her and is like, you shamed our whole family and whatnot. Like, I don't know. It's like, I'm sure something like this has happened, but it seems, it's just kind of wild for me. Because when I think about, like, if nude photos of somebody at my high school were shared, that would be crazy. Or if that was a rumor, and there were rumors like that, but it wasn't like their life was ruined. I mean, I don't know. Like, and I'm not trying to downplay. If somebody's life was ruined, that's totally valid. But I'm just like, I feel like this is actually kind of more common than you might. Not the whole posing, but nude photos getting shared, and like, it's not this crazy.
Okay, but I mean, not to be gross, but I feel like the rumor would have had more weight to it if the rumor was that she had been raped.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's just these photos.
roofied and raped. Like, you know, but the fact that there's actually no documentation that anyone can produce, I don't know, it's a little strains credulity. But so Ida comes from a really conservative religious background, but it seems to me like she's starting to come into her own and starting to, you know, talk back to her father, and not even in a rude way, just to assert her own self, because he's extremely rude to her. And she seems to be attracted to Elias, but she also questions him. Like, he says that men want sex and women want love, and she's like, that's bullshit. Like, women want sex too, and men want love. So, you know, your whole thing is stupid.
I really liked that scene because, you know, she tells him that he's wrong, and he's like, what, so you want sex? And she goes, you don't want love? Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was like, I thought that was very good. I really liked that.
Yeah. Well, they get to the place, and they have been told that they're going to be camping in a cabin and that other people will be joining them the next day. And those things turn out not to be true. They seem a little annoyed by this, but
I thought completely freaked out. Like, oh, I'm about to get killed. Like, I would be like, are you fucking kidding me?
I'd be like, take me back home, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like,
what else are you lying about?
Yeah, I would not feel safe, and I would feel so, like, affronted. Like,
and because he even admits to me, he's like, well, if we had told you, you wouldn't have come. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, you fucking kidnapped
exactly.
us.
Me. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, so that is insane. So I guess, like, again, I don't want to say I disliked this movie, but there were just a lot of times where I was like, what? Like, okay.
So I just wrote in my notes that they seem pretty chill, you know. Now that'll make a little more sense in a minute. But when I was
if I were those guys, I would have been like, oh, they're taking this very well.
So Atta has a theory that the killer was an outsider. In real life, the sole survivor of the attack in 1960 was tried in court in 2004.
Wow.
He wasn't held, but I mean, he did go through a trial.
Mm-hmm.
After all,
they said not guilty.
After all that time, yeah, I think so.
Oh, I mean, I guess it's fair. I mean, it is a fair question to ask, of kind of like, you know, like, you were there, so.
So Elias takes advantage of the spooky setting, and he scares the others, which causes Nora to say that she needs to go pee, and Elias kind of follows after her. And then a little bit creepy moment when Nora thinks she sees a light in the distance across the lake.
This to me also was like kind of insane that it's just immediately dropped, because like they had to like kind of break in to get to this, because this place is being like walled off, and also they did not really bat an eye at that. Again, it'll make sense, but it just was weird to me that they go up to this place where it's like, do not enter. And they're like, well, let's just keep going. And the girls are like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And Atta tells them, oh yeah, there's nobody here. And so then you see a bright light that looks like a flashlight. You wouldn't be like, oh, so there's there's them and us who are like,
yeah,
nope, whatever.
So Ida and Atta are in the tent, and Atta says he wants to tell her something about the photographs, and he implies that Elias took them.
Mm-hmm.
And Atta goes out, and there's a shot where he's halfway in and halfway outside of the tent, which for some reason that made me feel all this dread.
Me too.
Yeah, so that was pretty good.
It's like sticking your leg off the bed.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a mysterious figure who stabs Atta through the spine, which is pretty great. So his head is in the tent and he's talking to Ida, and then
And suddenly just goes,
and all this like blood comes out of his mouth.
it's amazing before the blood comes out, because this is maybe my favorite scene when Ida is like, Atta, like, what do you, because she kind of thinks he's fucking with her too.
Yeah.
But he's like actually scared. Like he's like, but he's also like, well, it must be them. You know, they're like Nora and Elias, they're fucking with us. And he's kind of like calling to her like, okay, like, come on. And she's like, no, I'm not. Oh no. Cause he tells her, he's like, let's pretend to be dead. Like, he's like, let's try to scare them. And she's like, no, which I love her. Like she's great. Cause she's just like, I don't want to do that. It's stupid. And then, you know, he's been asking her this, and then suddenly like goes rigid. And there's just a moment where she's like, what are you doing? What? But then when she sees the blood comes out, she's like, oh my God, you know, that was a great scene.
But now I had a problem with this part because she doesn't immediately scream.
Mm-hmm.
She maybe screams a minute and a half later. I mean, way later than you would. But she screams, and then Nora and Elias come, but it's too late. And Atta tells them to run away because he is going to come back.
Mm-hmm. But this is a great scene too, because they don't want to leave him, and you know he knows he's about to die, but he's just like, run. And then I just was thinking like, it's so sad, like, you know, the moment you die and like you're just laying out there in the cold, you know, because it's also really cold outside. And I don't know, like that. This to me, I think, is just the best part of the movie.
Yeah. And for some reason, well, not for some reason, I guess it does make sense, Ida tells Atta that she is sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they try to go escape to the car, but Nora falls and sprains her ankle, and she tells Elias and Ida to continue without her. Elias tries to explain to the angry Ida that he has never taken any nude pictures of her. And in fact, he's actually in love with her.
And he says, I can't find them. He said, I looked for them. And I thought this was great because he's like, you know me, if anybody was going to find them, it would have been me. But he's like, I can't find them anywhere.
And he also says that he and Atta were not close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, maybe he thought we were, but we weren't. Which is kind of interesting because that comes back later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of sweet because you know it's coming. But Elias puts his hand over his heart and he goes, my heart only beats for you. And then a knife blade, you know, stabs him through the hand, obviously through the heart, through his hand. And he's sort of like, what the heck? You know, he kind of looks down like, and yeah, he's a goner. And there's a person in a hoodie who has killed Elias, and it is Nora, which I called it. I called it too. I mean, I don't know what it was, but it seemed they must have telegraphed it somehow because I was like, oh yeah, that's for sure Nora.
Yeah. But see, and I guess this is a little bit my issue with this movie is like, and maybe this is the movie, maybe I need to watch it over again. Like, I don't know, because there's sometimes in movies where, okay, like something like Parasite or something like The Handmaiden or something, you know, where, or The Medium, where they do give you breadcrumbs, or Get Out, they give you breadcrumbs along the way, but you don't know the story. They don't make sense to you. But then when you watch it again, you're like, oh, yeah. I feel like this movie could have had that, but I knew everything without knowing anything. Yeah. I was like, okay, but Nora didn't kill Atta, so there's somebody else there and he's going to kill them. Like, I didn't know why. I didn't know this thing about the photos, but I just knew I could have told you every beat of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But we find out that Nora, who had plotted to kill Elias and Atta, she's convinced Ida that they ruined her life, is revealed as the killer. And then there's this whole scene where they put on protective clothing, like hazmat type of, you know, clothing, and they wrap the boys up in plastic, and they put these chains on them and they throw them into the lake.
I do love this scene too. I like this.
I was like, what the fuck? Because there was a moment when the boys were getting their luggage out of the car and they were like, girls, they always bring so much on a camping trip. Well, they weren't, bitches being bitches. They had all this stuff prepared. So
Yeah.
I liked that a lot. So they get back to the car and Nora just freezes because she's just like, Elias has the keys.
I laughed out. I was like, this is, again, up until this point, I was kind of like, I like this. Like, this is silly. Like, because then it gets so fucked whenever Nora is just like, because Ida is like a swimmer, or was a swimmer. And so, Nora's like, well, you have to get the keys. And she's like, I can't do it. Which also, this is the most brutal thing to think about. Like, when I was really thinking about this, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that either. Like, it's cold. Like, they're trying not to get hypothermia. But anyways, like, Nora, like, gets real fucked up, though, when she's, like, trying to manipulate. Like, everyone in this movie's fucked. But sorry, what were you saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think in the real case, it's like 15 miles, like to the campsite. Like it's deep in the woods. So, but my first thought was walk. I mean, I know they're trying to get back home because they told each other's parents they were at each other's house. But at this point, honestly,
girl, just walk.
Just walk.
Well, and Nora's like really intense about them being tied to the car. But then that was so confusing to me. But I was like, but if you two are spotted driving this car, then like, then wouldn't that be like, leave the car there, throw the car in the water? I don't know.
Yeah. But Ida does go into the water. It's freezing cold water. And she gets the key, but it's a pretty great sequence, even though it's like really unbelievable, but it's pretty great. So they're driving on the way home and
Nora sees the light again also.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and again, I was like, we did nothing. But like, then Ida comes up with the keys and she's like, yes! I just think this point is a great sequence. All up until then.
You mean the part getting the keys?
Getting the keys and like up to Atta dying to getting the keys is my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, so I would say that's probably the middle part. Well, there's a little more that I'm going to talk about. It's the middle part, but Atta doesn't die until 30 minutes into the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think it's a slasher. I thought it was a slasher. 4 kids. I thought 4 kids were going to die. One by one, but that's not what this is. So
and there's still a lot of movie left.
Yeah, you're like, what's happening? So they're in the car, they're driving home, and Ida is like, hey, Nora, do those nude photos really exist? And Nora breaks down and reveals that she's in love with Ida, and but she couldn't bear to tell her. And they do the flashback to Ida at the party. So no, there are no photos. Ida just like created that rumor and lied that Elias had taken the pictures. Now, Ida at one point said that she hoped that Atta and Elias would die. And that was the moment that Nora seized upon. And so then they came up with this plan to kill the boys.
This is next level. Like, this is, I am in particular not a fan of this trope at all of predatory gay best friend who is going to knows that they can't be like, you're straight and they're in love. I don't know. I think is really problematic. And I would have almost think it would just have worked just as her being not it being a romantic thing, but her being like, you're my best friend and you getting a boyfriend is not going to take you away from me. Like, we've been best friends our whole lives. Like, you said we were going to go to this college together or something. Like, I think there you go. That's twisted. That's a horrible thing, but it being like, I'm a lesbian who's in love with you. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. The really possessive best girlfriend, not in a sexual way, just like, is so much more interesting. And I think it's real because you are so close with your friends in like middle school and high school. I mean, I spent all my time
Me
with
too.
like the certain, you know, group of friends. And yeah, I mean, things inevitably happen, but it's really painful, you know, especially if you have like a best friend and that friend starts hanging out with somebody else. It really hurts.
It's like, this is, and I feel like romantic relationships in particular, I mean, it's like dudes have that experience too, of like your bro getting a girlfriend, and that's why bros
Bros
over
before
hoes.
hoes, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I think that is it's something everybody could have, like, I think everybody, maybe not everybody's had a possessive friend, but like, I had definitely had friends who throughout my life have felt very entitled to me specifically, and thought that I was like, you know, not my own person, like how Nora is thinking of Ida. And literally, I mean, like, even this is twisted enough of like, this is really fucking twisted. And like, and I guess that's why it feels more like less it should be a romantic thing, because it's like, well, Nora couldn't even see Ida or whatever because she was locked up in her house. Like, she literally didn't leave her house for like a year or something, you know, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, that part could have been, I don't know, could have been thought. You know, Single White Female is one of the scariest movies.
It's so good.
It's so good. And there's no lesbian, you know, subtext at all. It's just that Jennifer Jason Leigh, my queen, you know, is so attached to Bridget Fonda, you know, and she just copies her hairstyle and copies her clothing, and she just like, it's so creepy and it's so scary. So yeah, they should have done that. So Ida's like, well, I'm gonna tell, because this is like really fucked up. And Nora hits her. It says she hits her in the face with a wrench.
Yeah, I was like, oh, is she dead?
She broke her nose for sure.
But like, she hit her in like that was the heaviest thing ever. I thought she broke her skull.
Yeah, it was a really heavy blow. So then Ida's like, you know, goes into a rage. Nora's driving, but Ida, like, you know, attacks her, and the girls drive into a ditch. Really convenient for the next part of the movie. So an unknown man offers to help them tow them into town, a la Wolf Creek.
A la I Saw the Devil.
Oh yeah.
Don't trust a man in the dark with your car. Like,
she didn't. And I Saw the Devil. She didn't.
No. But like, God help me if I'm ever stuck on the road at night. I'm gonna like it. It will feel like I'm gonna die, and I'm sure it'll be a nice person who helps me. But if this ever happens, I have so much trauma related to like your car breaking down at night.
Yeah. So they realize that the guy driving the tow truck is the murderer. As they realize this, the tow truck starts to accelerate.
I do like this.
I love this part.
This is great. This would be so fucking scary.
Yeah. So, you know, they're sort of like, oh my God. Because they realize Atta wasn't killed by Nora and wasn't killed. No, and Nora thought
if
that
you didn't
Ida
stab him.
Yeah.
Because, Nora thought
that Ida had
like,
done it. Yeah.
Y'all bitches didn't talk about this before.
I know, it's nuts. That's stupid. But the car accelerates so fast that it flips. And now it's being dragged, you know, the roof along the ground. Ida's injured. She's got something poking through her tummy. Like, she's injured pretty badly, and she's unable to move. But I guess they sort of communicate with each other somehow. Like, you go. So Nora runs, and you think for a second she might have a chance, but Tow Truck Man has a dog.
Single scariest thing to me, the idea of somebody sending a dog after me to kill me.
Yeah, and I thought that Nora was a goner.
I thought she was going to die.
She was screaming her bloody head off, which, I mean, yeah, but she's not dead. So
she barely looks injured either.
Yeah, honestly. So Nora and Ida wake up in front of a campfire. They're bound and gagged, and their mouths are glued shut. Which, for some reason, that makes it like 10 times worse.
A la Goodnight Mommy.
Oh God, I have repressed that movie so much. Oh my
I
God.
regretted it as soon as I said. I was like, oh no, I know you hated that.
I didn't hate it. I mean, I think it is a really good movie, but I was legit traumatized by like the final 15 minutes of that movie.
That cat also traumatized me a lot. Like, the cat to me was almost like, sorry, this is not a Goodnight Mommy podcast, but like, talk about a movie that has actually horrified me and I
Yeah.
don't want to watch it again.
I was about to say we should do it.
I will though, but I'll have to skip that cat scene. There's just something about cats dying in movies that it's like insanely too much for me.
Yeah, I don't know what the American equivalent would be, but boy, it sticks with you. WoHos, if you haven't seen it and you want to get a little fucked up, but all right. Now this is another part that I was like, what? So the guy grabs Nora. No, I don't know who he grabs first. Anyway, he throws them both into the tent, but he kills Nora.
Yes.
But on either side of the girls are the boys. What?
Yes. Yeah, he got them from the water. Like, this guy's an Olympic swimmer. How did he get it in between then? Like,
there wasn't time.
No, there's no way. There's no way.
Pretty ridiculous. Because, like, I mean, it's kind of a cool shot. It's sort of like that shot in the Medium of the reflection, you know, in the car window where you're like, wait, what was that? And you got to like rewind it and you're like, oh, because like at first you sort of see a face of somebody in the shadows and then you realize that, because of the tattoos, you realize it's the boys.
Mm-hmm.
At dawn, Ida wakes up in the yard of her own house and she's in shock. And the bodies of Nora and the boys are found and Ida's accused of their murders. And the narrator says, of course, no one believed her because she told the story of a giant with red eyes. Like, what?
I know this too. I was like, what's happening?
I don't think that is true.
What movie am I in right now?
And so then, I don't know, like a family comes, like 6 people, the whole family comes to like camp at that very spot. But why would that be? Because it would have been cordoned off again.
Right?
And these aren't like rebellious teenagers. They're like,
it looks like a family. Like your average family from Finland, honestly.
And then there's just like, kind of like a drone shot, above the trees. I liked this movie a whole lot better before we started talking about it.
Welcome to the podcast where I actively make my mom dislike movies more.
I was like, Max, either gonna like this or hate this. And I don't think you hated it, but
I don't think I didn't hate it, and I really liked what everyone was given, and the parts that I liked, I really liked. It's just, I wish that they would have done something else. I feel like they have a lot of talent, whoever made this movie, but it's like this was the first draft, I think. Yeah,
I think it could be remade with our suggestions, obviously.
Yeah, just honestly, call us.
It could have been a whole lot better. I mean, I just feel, it was a little bit sloppy. And I agree, that trope of it's sort of, the implication is that lesbians or gay people in general are predatory and that's scary. Whereas you don't need that at all. She could be a straight girl.
And it makes a more interesting story.
It does make it more, and real, I think, and like realistic.
I want to watch that movie. Like, I wish that was this movie.
Let's make that movie.
Yeah.
All right. How would we rate it? Oh gosh, I don't have any metrics or anything.
How about non-existent nude photos? I'll give it 2.5.
Oh my gosh, I'll give it 3.5. We've been like in sync for weeks, but I did like it. I liked it that it switched gears. The first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, what's happening now? Yeah. And then when I watched it again, I'm like, oh, they pretty much split this into 3 pieces, which is fine. Do whatever you want. But also there were like echoes of, I mean, that was so Wolf Creekish to me.
The end is very Wolf Creek. Yeah. Even like, because like even when they're getting tortured, it's like all these zoom ins of just like, you know,
Yeah.
it felt very Wolf Creek.
And we have a certain amount of love for Wolf Creek, but
I liked Wolf Creek. I was just saying to somebody the other day, I don't remember who, but I was just mentioning that, like, to me, just one of the most fucked up things in that movie, but like just in an amazing way and in a horrible way, is like just the half of a woman, like naked half, like being hung on the wall like me. And they don't even point it out, but it's there.
it's just part of the scenery.
Yeah, and then when you realize you're looking at just like specifically like it's just so horrible, but like I just feel like there's few movies that in an original way strike that feeling of just like, oh my God, you know? And if you make me feel that, like, it's not everybody's favorite type of art, but I like that type of art.
Well, I do feel like that takes a lot of thought, you know, because you have, I mean, the writers created the character, and he has a background, and he has things that he enjoys, and you see that in the environment. No one has to give you we heard tell of this killer.
Yes.
You know, we don't need any of that. You just look at the goddamn
environmental storytelling
garage and you see yes, exactly.
That's okay. Just that 5 seconds, I like Wolf Creek more. I'm going to rewatch Wolf Creek. I think that character is really good.
It is,
but
yeah.
I don't think I don't necessarily think it's a great movie, but I think that character is really good. In the same way of like I Saw the Devil, where you're just like, oh, this guy's evil.
Well, and what's his face doesn't even show up for the first hour.
No,
right?
yeah.
So you know they pack a lot of information in a very short amount of time, and it's possible to do that and do that well. And I wish more people would. But you have to start with the character.
You have to actually think about it. You have to like think about them as a real human being with interests and a life outside of them being scary for 5 seconds in your movie.
Like this
but that
guy,
makes it scarier.
This guy in Lake BODOM, we don't know anything about him.
But that would have been so cool to know. See, again, a way we could have improved this. We got a few major improvements for this movie.
All right, so what have we learned?
You know what? This is a rare moment where I feel like I had this thought really loud in my head. Like I legit had the thought of like, man, if somebody ever tells me that there are naked photos of me, I am asking to see them ASAP. I cannot, but like that was kind of unbelievable to me. Like, and a friend who would be like, oh, honey, you like don't want to see them. It's like, actually, I do fucking want to see them. I want to know. Like, I just can't believe that you'd be like, no, it's just better if I never see these photos that have ruined my life.
Yeah, I don't believe it
give
at all.
Give yourself some ownership over it, you know?
Well, also,
like,
yeah. I mean, I think it's ridiculous, but it was effective. It was an effective lie because I think it's human nature to just sort of like extrapolate, you know, to the worst possible, you know, conclusion. And so that would make you feel awful and humiliated, even if you didn't know the context. So it did work, but I just don't think it would ever could ever happen.
And I gotta say, I feel like you said, like not seeing, not knowing would turn it into this huge thing. So I feel like really it would be great advice to be like, honestly, this thing might, if you were ever in this horrible of a situation, seeing probably would help because at least knowing exactly your brain wouldn't have to like picture these horrific things. Like, again, I feel like it gives you at least some sort of like ownership over the memory or something.
Yeah, totally.
So that's why it's just insane. I was just like, there's no world in which I would be like, you're right, Nora. I won't look at them or ask to see them.
Like if they could have made her a devout Christian herself, I think.
Yeah.
Or they could have done it such that she wouldn't want to know or couldn't know because she's like so innocent, but she's not innocent.
Yeah, she's like
confronting everybody she runs into, not in a rude way. She's just like, no, I disagree with your point of view. Here's what I think.
Yeah.
And so she's not like a little babe in the woods. I mean, she's okay. I'm going to take half my photograph away. This is what happens. Okay, so you learned that if anyone ever says that there are nude pics of you on the internet, you are going to demand to see them.
ASAP.
I would say keep up to date on your AAA or like whatever else you have in case your car breaks down.
Oh, hey, really make sure before you do anything, before you throw away a body, make sure you got everything you need off of it. Because, okay, this fucking bitch Nora, she legit says the hubris she had. She was like, I thought of everything. I remember she says this.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, you should feel lucky I thought of everything. Well, bitch, guess what you forgot? The most important thing.
Would we watch it again?
Yeah. I totally would.
Yeah. I mean, also
that car scene was great.
The car scene is really good. And also it's beautiful. I mean,
yes.
The scenery is just amazing. Now, one thing, in the real case, I guess the time of year was different. And, you know, the geography of Finland is such that at certain points of the year, the sun doesn't set. So in the real case, the sun didn't set at all.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah. But I guess they would have had to explain to like Americans, see,
hey,
there's this thing that happens. So they would have had to have an American dumb, you know, exchange student.
What? It's still bright out.
But I think that, I don't know, but I feel like that kind of violence in daylight is scarier, you know.
I'd be very interested.
Well, it's
in seeing something like that. See, another edition.
Okay, who wins the You Fool award?
Ida.
Yeah. But well, all of them in different ways though.
All of them in different ways, but like Ida definitely most of all. Like she got manipulated so much. She got manipulated and gaslit so much that she plotted a murder.
Yeah, that's crazy. A lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, that would take a whole bunch to get somebody to do that. I mean, I think you could get Atta to do it.
Yeah.
Like pretty easily.
I think Atta would have killed Elias like pronto to if he thought he could fuck Ida.
Absolutely. And I don't think Elias could have been, deceived like that. I mean, he was deceived a little bit, with Atta saying, you might be able to fuck one of these girls, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Not kill. I don't think Elias would have.
I think Elias was the smartest one because he's the one who actually was like, okay, let me find him. Oh, I can't find him. Hey, you.
Yeah.
I can't find these nude photos that I've only heard that your best friend has seen.
Yes.
He's the smartest one.
Aww.
Which is, he was the sweetest one too.
I agree. Shall we move on to Slasher Season 4, Flesh and Blood?
Yes.
Okay, well, one of the things we decided to do, instead of going beat by beat through the plot, is sort of James A. Janice it up and just talk about the kills. But we do have to give some background so that, some of it makes sense. We can't just describe these random kills. That would be weird.
Because part of this show is, I feel like we need to do a little intro for Slasher in general, because I really got to recommend the show Slasher. Not season 1. I always say this because I watched it twice because I wanted to make sure it was bad, and it's really bad. And it's so sad because Katie McGrath is the main character. She's this amazing Irish actress, but she does not belong in the Slasher series. This series, the vibe I would tell you it has is insane, balls to the wall, amazingly gory, but it's next level. When I say insane, you have to just go in knowing that this shit is dumb. Like, you just have to be like, I'm about to see some dumb shit. And also, they try to be woke, because I'm pretty sure the people who write the show are gay, like, and they're Canadian, and not all the acting is great, but it makes it great. Everybody is doing their best. I think that's what I feel about the show, is like, there's so many shows right now that probably are better written, but they don't like go for anything, and they don't like try, and they're not creative. But this show is like, I feel like one of the most creative shows on TV right now, both with the plot lines and the acting and the kills. I just feel like you got to commend them for just like, they're unique. There's nobody else like Slasher. And I really, really, really like the show. I'm probably one of the biggest fans of this show.
There's a huge Reddit community around the show. But you turned me on to the show, and I've seen all of the seasons, and some of them more than once. And I think I'm going on maybe 3 or 4 with this season. It is completely whack, but we'll get to some of the kills and some of the effects. Like when people come, discover the bodies and stuff, they're really haunting images. So I just wanted to say a couple of things, but why don't you take the first episode?
Okay.
1 through 4, I don't know, maybe 1 through 8. I didn't look, but they're all directed.
It is 8.
Okay, they're all directed by Adam McDonald. There's an interview online. It was, I don't know, sponsored by Shudder, but it's Adam speaking to David Cronenberg, who's in the cast. And he said something amazing that I put in the notes because it's so David Cronenberg. He said, quote, "Human existence is the human body." I mean,
long live the new flesh. Am I right, or am I right?
Do you want to go through the cast, or you want me to go through the cast?
I'll go through the cast.
Okay.
Is this okay? Wait,
it's Janine. I don't know what happened to the J.
So we have Janine Goosen as Dr. Trin, who I believe is a new entrant. Sydney Meyer as Liv. I really like this. I think she is kind of there. There's some people on the show whose acting is good, and then there's good actors, and there's like the fucking whack actors who I love. But she's a good actress. Like, I think she really kills this. She's also a new entrant. Paula Brancati as Christy. Man, this chick is in 3 seasons. She is amazing. Queen of dating gay men. And somehow in this season, she actually plays like maybe her most toned down character. And I like it. Like, I just think she's great. I think she goes for it. Christopher, how do you say his last name? Jacot?
I mean, he's Canadian, so it might be Jacko or
Jacko.
I mean,
Christopher Jacko.
Could be, French Canadian.
Jacko. He plays Seamus. He is in every single season. King. You said the funniest thing I've ever heard, which you said he was like a great value Hamish Linklater from Midnight Mass, which is so fucking true. Because this guy, also just in the way that they're made of the same Play-Doh. Like, they have the same coloring and like hair, but also he just goes for these I can't say he's like a good actor, but he's one of my favorite people on the show, and I love him.
And he's fully committed. I mean,
yes, that's the thing, is he's fucking going for it. He's trying. Oh. He's not always hitting it, but he threw the hardest shot. Jefferson Brown as Merle, who is king of first kills. I almost feel like his kill in this show is just for people who have seen season 2.
Absolutely.
Because they just focus so much on the instrument that killed him in season 2 that you're like, But yeah. This guy is in multiple 3 seasons, I think. Patrice Goodman as Brigitte. I know she was in 3, but I don't know if I don't think she was in 2 and 1. She's another person who's not good at acting, but I love her. I think she's doing great. Sabrina Girdovich as Florence, who, I mean, she brings something to this. I mean, she plays just an insane bitch. I wish she was a little bit more likable because I just by the end wanted to fucking kill her. I hated her so much, but she's great. David Cronenberg as Spencer. We love Cronenberg. Rachel Crawford as Grace. I think she kills it. She's great. Alex Ozerov as Theo, who is not a good actor.
Not good. But cute as fuck, so you don't even really care. Well, everybody in the cast is like very beautiful. Good looking. Yeah.
Yes. AJ Simmons as Vincent, who he looks like Kevin Bacon / the guy that was in the Ethan Hawke, if they had a baby. Kevin Bacon and Ethan Hawke. He's not very good, but I like him. And Natalia, I could not find her birth age because I was like furiously Googling. I was like, how old is this bitch? Like, I can't.
So she's a little older than you are.
Yeah. I showed the first episode of this show to Dad, and the first thing he said when he saw Afra was, okay, so she's like super old, right?
I don't even, how old is she supposed to be? 12?
13.
13, okay.
Wait, who plays O'Keefe?
Oh, I don't know. I'll look her up, but look them up. I don't know if they are also non-binary.
O'Keefe is kind of like, you could forget that they were ever in the show, but I like them.
Well, yeah, I feel like they tried to give them, they paired them with certain other people, like with Grace when she's cooking. And then I think with Christy, when she's having like a heart-to-heart. So
they are a very good character. I feel like the only thing that they give is fuel for your hatred towards O'Keefe or Flo.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that was a very impactful scene.
Oh boy.
But that was like their only role was just to make that impactful.
Okay, their name is Breton Lalama, and I don't know anything about them, but they're
very pretty.
They're in Slasher and Pretty Hard Cases. I don't know what that is, but yeah. So let's talk about the family tree a little bit. I wrote it here. I forgot that I did that. Okay, you can go ahead if you want.
So Cronenberg Spencer is the patriarch. He had a wife who is not in most of the show. 2 kids, Seamus and Florence. And so we have, so his first wife died of cancer. Wink, wink. And at the time, the nurse to her was Grace. So then he married Grace and they had a son, Jaden. Jaden is the youngest of Spencer's like children, but he's not the youngest in the family. So then there's Brigitte, and I'll save it. I'll save the reveal. Yeah, okay. Brigitte is the family housekeeper, and she's mother of Liv. But all you should know is that Liv's father is a Galloway, and it's revealed in like episode 1. So I feel like it's pretty. Seamus and Christy are married, so Christy's not a part of the family except in being married to Seamus, and they have an adopted daughter, Afra. Flo and a mystery father had Vincent and Theo, but Vincent was kidnapped, and Flo and a different man had O'Keefe. So Theo and like Jaden, for instance, are like kind of, I think they're like Jaden's younger than Theo, I think, but they're similar, but technically Theo is his nephew. Right?
Yeah.
That's everybody, right?
Yeah. So the briefest of synopses from Bloody Disgusting is that this season follows a wealthy but dysfunctional family gathering for a reunion on a secluded island. Their old wounds and competitive rivalries flare up when the family realizes a masked killer is on the island, intent on cruelly picking them off one by one. Do you want to take the first app?
Yeah. So episode 1, Thicker Than Water, was written by Aaron Martin. And okay, here comes a genuine misgiving I do have with this season is the timelines are insane and the ages of these characters are not right. And like the way that they show the past, the only way you'd know it's different is that David Cronenberg's hair is brown and not white. That's the only thing that they do.
Yeah, that's right.
And for 25 years of difference, that's fucked up. Like, you can't do that. You have to give me something. Like, I get you can't hire other people, but like something else.
Mm-hmm.
Please. Or make it black and white. I don't know. Like, but what they did was not okay. So anyways, so it made me so, I did not know the real plot of the show kind of until like midway through. So, okay, so we're looking at a flashback, and this is just to give you context onto what this fucking family's like. There's this insane kind of scramble going on. Seamus gets caught in a bear trap. Grace, his stepmom, won't help him. And during all of this kerfuffle, Theo and Vincent are running. Vincent, this killed me, was running after him screaming, "I'm going to kill you, Theo. I'm going to kill you, Theo." and Theo's like, "He's going to kill me." And another insane choice is that the kid who plays Vincent looks more like fucking older Theo, and the kid who plays Theo looks more like older Vincent. This is the most confusing thing ever. But anyways, during this, on this beach, Vincent is kidnapped, and we're shown obviously that a child could never have prevented this from happening. But so this is just to show you this family's fucked up. So first kill, there's Merle having issues with the motor on the boat, which is a way he was brutally murdered in first kill of season 2. And he says, literally says, "Fuck me with a chainsaw." He gets knocked out by a hook on a chain. Hook gets put in his mouth. It's brutal. He wakes up choking on blood. He's basically gutted. All the gut, like this show loves guts.
Yeah,
all
really.
his guts are spilled. And yeah, it's completely, they show you so much this thing that is legit only for if you've seen season 2.
Yeah.
And the guy who does it is like a masked killer. Merle was having an affair with Grace. We see a scene earlier where they're having sex. And then we, again, are getting more background. So there's Florence. She's an artiste. She has 3 kids, Vincent, Theo, and O'Keefe. She's horrible. There's an interesting connection between Liv and Theo. Liv is the child of the family housekeeper, and they kind of grew up together. She's ex-military. Oh my God, yeah. Basically, they just want you to fucking hate the shit out of Florence. Like, she does this horrible poem, like, dedicated to losing, because it's like the 25-year anniversary of Vincent also getting kidnapped, which she holds over Theo in a most insane way of just like, "You didn't do anything." It's like, yeah, he was a child. It ends with her smashing 2 eggs over her ovaries. And one of my favorite scenes, David Cronenberg just fucking starts hollering with laughter. And I mean, like, and it is funny, but you do have to also think, what if you presenting this thing on the anniversary of your child getting kidnapped and your dad just fucking laughs? But it is funny. He also says, "What the fuck was that?" And so it's very weird. He tells the whole family, "I'm dying. I have cancer, and instead of getting treatment, I'm going to do some assisted suicide." We meet Persephone Trin, who is going to help. But he also says that there's going to be, his will is that there's going to be a series of Survivor-esque competitions, and the winner is going to get everything, his business, his money. And of course, everybody's like, what? Again, Florence is fucking insane, tells Theo, "I curse every day that they took my Vincent from me and not you."
Like,
Okay. Like, apropos
I
of
mean,
nothing, really.
and honestly, I don't, she's playing her character in a way that nobody else is. Like,
Yes.
she's like a cartoon. I mean, she's
Yes.
like way. So I almost feel like she's like in a different show.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. But you've never met anybody like this. Nobody exists like this. Like, she is talking to O'Keefe and she goes, "Oh, aren't you non-binary?"
Yeah.
Like, why did she say it like that? It's so
Yeah.
stupid.
And then O'Keefe, like, at one point, like, says, like, "Oh yeah, like, I got a girlfriend," and yeah, and then, she's like, "Oh, but I thought you're non-binary." And O'Keefe's like, "What would that have to do with anything? Like, what?"
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's entertaining to watch, but it kind of took me out of it a lot because if everyone was acting like that, that'd be one thing, or if she were acting more normal, but it just feels a little weird.
It's next level.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe everybody isn't trying to murder her.
Yeah.
And yeah, O'Keefe says, "You're a monster." But it's still, strangely, O'Keefe will still be Florence's shadow throughout the show, whatever. So then there's a great moment when Trin assists Spencer's suicide. She just administers, like, she explains, like, it's going to be very painless. And then he has, we think, has a kind of like dying vision of his first wife reaching out to him. But then it turns out it's Mask Guy, which they love themselves some acid too.
Yes.
These people, which I say with affection. This person injects acid into his pick line that goes to his heart. And so his heart, burns out of his chest and, drops, like, onto the floor below the bed. Very good.
Pretty good.
Very painful.
I mean, David Cronenberg really goes for it too.
He's like, like, he's selling, he knows he's old and that he looks insanely old, and he's going for it. Like, he does a great job. It's nice to see him. Like, I think he really was putting in, like, a lot of effort. And then we find out at the first competition that Vincent has returned. And also they're about to do a Survivor challenge. Like, this is a Survivor challenge.
Episode 2 is called The Sins of the Father, and it was written by Ian Carpenter, and it starts immediately after the first episode ends. And Flo, realizing it's Vincent, she pushes Theo out of the way.
Of course.
But the first competition is they have to climb these ropes. They're kind of on this jungle gym kind of a structure, and they have to just stay there. And the first person to fall loses. I mean, I guess the last man standing wins.
No, there's no winner. There's only a loser.
Okay. So first person to drop loses and is completely out of the running for the rest of the time. And to make it interesting, there are these metal spikes that are revealed on the ground. So when you fall, you're going to fall onto these spikes.
And I just gotta say, as a fan of Survivor, this really is, I was just screaming because this just is a Survivor challenge. And the way that Trin is, like, narrating, like, is exactly how Jeff Probst narrates. Like, it's a direct reference to Survivor. And it just was really great. She was like, "You might think it's easy, but, or it might not look difficult, but this is 23 degree weather and your hands are going to start feeling freezing cold." Like, and then, like, 30 minutes have passed. Like, this is exactly how Survivor is done. And it just was killing me.
Oh, that's really funny because I didn't get that reference because I don't watch Survivor, but that's great. So it seems like there's a lot of tension between Seamus and Jaden, who are half brothers. And it is revealed that Liv is a Galloway because she's allowed to compete. It's also revealed that she's Theo's cousin. That'll be an interesting detail later. Anyway, basically what happens, Jaden doesn't die, but he gets very badly injured. Seamus pretends like he's going to help Jaden and give him his coat. And he gets Jaden to kind of, like, swing, toward him to grab the coat. And then Seamus is like, "Nope," and pulls it away, and Jaden falls off his rope onto the spikes.
And again, the guy who plays Seamus, Jekyll, he is just amazing because he just goes like, he's like, you know, like, I'm a shit person, but I'm a damn good actor. It's like so stupid. It's so good. And he is just like rubbing it in. Like he's just the worst, but I love it.
Yeah, he's very entertaining. What does this mean? What's the impenetrable fortress? Grace doesn't have the code.
So Jaden, when he falls onto the spikes, they're like, well, we need to go get him some first aid, so we're gonna go to the bomb shelter. But then when Grace tries to put in the code, she doesn't have it, and so she's like, oh, this is another thing that he didn't tell me.
Oh. But then Christy looks off into the distance, which I think is, I love this part. She looks off into the distance and she sees the fucking, they call him the gentleman, the guy who's in the black suit and the white mask. And she's like, hey, who the fuck are you? Like, what are you?
She does this so well. Like, this scene is perfect. She's like, hello.
Which I think is great because I feel like that's a natural reaction. Like, they're on an island. Who is this person? And you'd be like, excuse me, can we help you? And
yeah,
they go up to the person and she tries to pull the mask off and he slashes her across her forearm. So now she's like, oh shit, it's that kind of party. And she runs like, and a lot of handheld stuff, which is, appropriate for this. Jaden hides in the shed where Merle was killed.
Steps on the gut.
He steps on some Merle guts. Of course, he doesn't know that that's what they are, but we do.
He just is like, what the fuck is...
But then the gentleman knocks Jaden out. Oh my God.
Ooh, this scene is next level.
It is. Yeah. So when Jaden wakes up, he is... What do you call those? Like, they're
like pulleys or something.
Something. I don't know what they are, but they're these things when you wind them up, they're going to like pull whatever is attached to them taut. So every limb is attached to one of those things. So Jaden is pulled apart. That's his death. It goes on for so long.
It's so heartbreaking.
It is really heartbreaking.
Because Jaden up to this point has been like a really nice character.
Yeah.
It's like, even the whole beef that Seamus has with him, it's like, I understand where he, in a way, was coming from like, you were acting like how this psycho wants you to act, like, and I really don't want to have a relationship with you then, which I think is actually completely valid, and it's kind of like, that's his decision. But obviously, trying to get him brutally and mortally injured by falling on spikes is like not okay. But it's like he gets in there and like he's like really upset, it's like everybody, like nobody wants this, nobody in this scene wants this to happen, and everybody's trying their hardest to get it to stop, and it's just heartbreaking. Like, and Jaden's been a nice character. It's like, even though he screwed Seamus out of a board seat, it's like he's like the most pleasant character on this show so far. So I was like, I know he's gonna die first, but like, because I think here's a new rule that we at least have to add for this show. The most insufferable character will not stay until the very end, but will stay for longer than you'd like, because we need to make their death like, they need to have somebody whose death feels like, yeah, get him, kill him, They need to have somebody in there.
That's part of the recipe of the show.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just sad. There's
a flashback to Spencer saying to Jaden, and this is kind of the sense of the humor, I guess, of this show, which is real dark. Spencer had said to his son, the world will pull at you from all directions. You have to resist and be stronger. Now, what's so heartbreaking and so effective, I think, about this scene is that his mother is there. And she's just like screaming and crying. And she's like, somebody do something, but there's nothing anybody can do. It's just going to happen. And and she's almost like trying to put his arm like back on. It's so heartbreaking. And I don't know if I teared up at this scene actually, but I mean, if I didn't, I got really close, because just the thought of maybe one thing to lose a child, but to see the child, you know, die like that, it would just be awful. So
Yeah.
good job. They did a good job with this one.
And I really do like Grace's character from here on out. Like, in a way, I'm not saying that this had to happen or anything. And kind of like similarly to we were just saying, it's kind of like, I mean, I know this isn't, everybody in this show dies like brutally, but like race like does seem to be a thing that this show, or at least this season, like brings up a lot. And it is kind of like very interesting then to me that like the second death is of a Black man in such like a, but again, it's like, I'm not saying that this death is any more violent than any other death, you know, but do you understand? It's like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It just feels like a little bit weird though, for them to like kind of have this other conversation about race, but then also you have like the only Black male character, like, you know, killed in the second episode. Like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, I think it does. I mean, Grace is Black and Birgit is Black. So, or mixed, I don't know, but I mean, not white, obviously. So
yeah,
and there is a conversation later on about that. Like, maybe it is very Survivor influence, because there are all these alliances and like people change sides and things. But at one point, all the people of color are working, you know, against the other people.
Because Dr. Trin is also a person of color.
Yeah.
And like Liv in a way I mean, I think Liv being treated as an outsider is also to do with the fact that like her mom, you know, was the maid, and like I don't think it necessarily all has to do with race in that case.
Right.
But like she also is technically a person of color in this show also.
Yeah, I mean, Spencer's contempt for her is just so thick, you know, that when we get to it. But I mean, that it's more about her class status than her color. But
yeah,
I'm sure it doesn't help.
No.
But yeah.
So episode 3, In Trust, written by J.P. Larroquet.
Sure.
So I love your description here because it's so apt. Flashback to Seamus getting plowed by some guy.
Well, okay, the camera work in this scene is insane too. It's
like that's why I'm saying you summed it up perfectly. This is exactly what happened.
It's like close up on Seamus's face, but you can see that a man is behind him, like fucking the shit out of this guy.
Yes, and he's like a painter or something in the house. And again, the way that they're depicting that this is 25 years ago is so fucked up because Seamus looks exactly the same, except he's wearing a turtleneck and a chain and like a purple button up over, and so I guess that means it's the 80s. Like I like it's. But he's still like a man in his 40s. Like, and also David Cronenberg has brown hair.
So that's how you know.
That's so stupid to me. But anyways, Daddy Cronenberg interrupts, and you know, he's like, I hope I didn't clear my busy schedule they were going to go hunting. And then, oh, this guy's such a fuck up. He was getting fucked by the painter. That's next level. So now, and I feel like that also kind of thing is like, oh, he's going to die in this episode. Like,
yes.
All right. They've shown us who's going to die. So he's got a troubled relationship with his dad. And so right now everybody's dealing with the fact that Jaden was just torn apart in front of them. And there's like a scene where like Seamus is like, Grace, I'm really sorry. And we're going to get to the bottom of whoever did this. And she's like, you did this. Which I loved. And that's like, this is what I love is the fucked up dynamics. That's half of really what makes this season like extra fucked. And I think they do a pretty good job with it. Like there's so much resentment in everyone. They hate each other. Theo, Vincent, and Seamus help Grace take care of Jaden's body. the boat's gone. They cannot get off the island. They have to find this satellite phone because there's no cell service, but that's also been destroyed. So Flo really is judgy on Dr. Trin because she's kind of like, you know, who are you? You're not, you know, we don't know who you are. And you killed my dad, basically. Vincent and Liv are also suspected to be like just by people in the group because it's like, well, Vincent, we don't know. And Liv, what's going on? She's got military training. This keeps coming up. So everybody's going to clean up and sleep together in the main room. But in the middle of the night, Florence, because like she is like a Bugs Bunny character. Because also she's like, well, how am I going to bring my mattress down to sit in here? It's like, we get it. She's a bitch. So she finds Dr. Trin, and I do love the scene where she chases her because she's just so like, come here, like, and running after her. And she's like, you're gonna need a doctor when I'm through with you. And so Trin goes up to the wood chipper, falls in, you know, she gets wood chipped. And in the morning, they find just a pile of guts and Trin's necklace. Theo and Brigitte find him. And so then there's it's like very Saw-esque, like Spencer comes on in a TV show. He's like, I want to play a game. They have to go to the basement. And it's just basically this thing. There's only going to be a loser again. They have to hop on these blocks. And if you fall in, you're going to get electrocuted. So Seamus loses specifically because he does not take the help from O'Keefe. And it's also revealed that Liv is Seamus's daughter. And Christy, of course, Christy is the most normal person in this show. I think because she's not a Galloway, but she's just like, why didn't you tell me that you had a daughter? Because apparently they had like infertility problems, and she's like, you never told me that. But all Seamus is thinking is, you are going to leave me because I lost, and now I'm going to lose all my money. Like he just is obsessed with thinking that. But Christy really doesn't feel like that. And that is a really sweet part of the show. And he listens to her talking to O'Keefe, just saying like, I'm going to keep trying to fight to make sure that he doesn't, you know, that we can stay together. I love him and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, fuck, like really, like she does love me. And it's a pretty sweet moment, but we already knew he was going to die. So he gets stabbed in the eye because he's looking through this peephole.
Which Spencer looked through.
Spencer looked through when he was having sex with Brigitte and walked in, and, you know, it's very, I mean, like, it is insane to imagine your dad being like, did you wear a condom? It was so gross. And so basically Seamus, under his dad's, you know, command, and also probably the way he felt too, is like he completely ices Brigitte out, and he's like, hey, I got you something, and gets her plan B. Because Brigitte's like all, like he was helping her give Ipecac to his new stepmom. Insane. You know, but he really ices her out, but she, you know, does end up having this baby. But we also find out that it's completely like, you know, she was completely iced out by David Cronenberg for getting pregnant. So yeah, Brigitte and Grace, they're like, you know, we got to team up together. So they fucking take Flo while she's making a midnight snack. Flo says that she wouldn't care if either Jaden or Liv died, and Grace bites off one of Flo's fingers.
It's insane. It's crazy. They're having this like crazy knife fight in the kitchen, and like people are locked out of the room, but they're like pounding against the door trying to get in.
I love this scene because
it's amazing.
Florence and Grace as enemies are great because they're both crazy, but Grace is a better version of the kind of crazy I think Florence's character is supposed to invoke, because like I like Grace. I don't know, it's just very good because like these two just fucking hate each other, but they're also like not fighters or anything, and they don't know what they're doing. And like Florence just like finds a knife and like stabs and like rips some skin off of like Grace's like arm. They're just like going at each other. So then of course, you know, like Grace just, as soon as she gets her hand, she bites and spits blood in her face, and it's just so good.
I don't know if there were any other like bitten off fingers in any other seasons, But
But there was a lot.
but that slicing off of flesh is in others. It's in the camp one, Solstice.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I mean, a much longer scene. But there's somebody likes that. I don't know. But it's so gross. All right. Well, episode 4 is called Upstairs, Downstairs. It's written by Ian Carpenter. Seamus's body is discovered. So we saw that the gentleman poked this fire poker through Seamus's eye.
He like turned it around
Yeah.
too. Ooh.
That was how he died. But when we see his body, he's hung up almost like in a crucifixion pose. His both eyes have been gouged out, but only his like his top half is hanging. Okay. I mean, it's pretty horrible. And you know, Christy loses her mind and she blames everyone for his death. And then the bell rings. There's another game, which is going to happen. And Christy freaks and she bludgeons the TV where Spencer is giving the details. But he's implied that all losers will die. They're not just going to lose the fortune. They're going to die.
Yeah.
But Theo and Vincent sort of bond over cleaning up Seamus's body. Yeah, this is a little bit of a hole, but Liv has been absent for quite a while, like maybe a whole show and a half or something, but she's been outside working on this boat.
Mm-hmm.
She's chased by the gentleman and she gets away, but then she hears footsteps above her and it sounds like the footsteps are coming right to the door. And when she opens the door, it's Vincent, but they both sort of scare each other. Ah! But she's a little, you know, suspicious of him. Why was he there right at that moment?
Yeah.
Liv says that she's going to compete in the next Survivor game, even though Flo is like, yeah, you missed a game when you were like playing on the boat. But everyone else is like, no, it's fine. She can compete.
Which is just like, okay.
Yeah. Vincent had made a move on Liv. Not much of one, but Theo's really mad about that.
It is weird because by the time Vincent's arrived, he only knows her as his cousin.
I know.
So it's kind of like,
yeah.
Even if Theo didn't like already have his weird, already cousin weird thing, it's kind of like, yeah, you can't just like go up to your cousin and be like, hey, DTF, like you can't do that.
Yeah, I know. It's a very strange move. And it's not realistic. And I think it's just another, you know, way to form this tension, which is that's another sick trope. Tension between two male characters over the same woman.
Yeah.
Anyway,
who's their cousin?
Who's their cousin? Yeah. So everyone thinks that Liv is the killer, but except Theo doesn't. And Brigitte hears this and she like runs to Liv and she's like, we got to get the fuck off this island because everybody suspects you. And Brigitte is singing this lullaby to Liv. And Vincent's like, what the fuck's that lullaby? My kidnapper sang that lullaby. This is the craziest twist, right? Brigitte was the kidnapper. What? Because she wanted money, I guess. But Spencer figured it out and he didn't pay the ransom. But then he just sent Vincent somewhere else. That doesn't make any sense.
None of it does.
Oh, it's so crazy.
And also it's like, okay, kidnapping like a child that you've known since they were an infant, I presume, is kind of insane. You think you would remember that moment for like the rest of your life. Like you wouldn't remember that you sung, like, I don't know. It's like,
yeah,
I'm just like
for sure what I should never ever do again is sing this lullaby.
He's right there. He's like 5 feet away.
Well, and also Vincent's like, I spent 4 days in a trunk pissing and shitting myself hearing that goddamn lullaby.
You wouldn't think. not sing that? You think this is the only song she knows, apparently, because she also sings it.
She sings it when she dies.
Like, why?
I don't know. I don't know why that would spring to mind.
She's singing it in the fucking credits. It's like, why am I listening to this?
So her death is pretty great. Theo gets Liv and Brigitte out of the house, but Brigitte, I don't know, she just sort of goes wandering off.
She's like, oh, I need to go die now.
Yeah, basically. And then we hear a scream, but it's like cut really short. They did that really well. Yeah. So, but then when she wakes up, she's up to her head. She's buried in sand. And she's like, oh my God, don't do this. Please don't do this. And the gentleman is shoveling dirt onto her head. And that's when she starts singing this goddamn lullaby.
I mean, that sand was getting in her mouth.
I know. Like, she was.
I was like, she method acted.
She sure did. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty rough, but I think, I don't know if we're going to get to it today. No, we're not. But when we see her, the aftermath, wow, they really went for it with the makeup. It's so good. Yeah. Anyway, so there's a flashback to when Liv was born and Spencer was a dick to Brigitte. And he basically said that, we'll take care of the baby, but she can never claim to be a Galloway. Or she can claim to be a Galloway and we will ruin your life.
And we'll raise her.
And we'll raise her as a Galloway. So.
Damn.
What a fucker, right? And also there's another flashback to when Liv was, there's a Christmas morning and the Galloway kids are all being just, complete assholes. And Spencer gives Liv a math kit. Like with a protractor and stuff. And he's like, I heard
that you suck. I heard that you suck at math, and yeah.
But she's like, thank you so much. I mean, she's upset, obviously. That's not what a kid wants, but she's polite,
Yeah.
Then,
like, I wanted you to give me the Super Rocket 3!
Yeah. Then there's another flashback to when Theo and Vincent had tied Liv to a tree and were going to burn her up like a witch.
I can't believe that she has any relationship with Theo at all ever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's like, you have a memory of him being like, because he was being a little shit while opening up his presents too. And it just makes it kind of weird for things that happen later.
But when things happen later, it does make sense.
It makes more sense, but it's like, do you have selective memory?
Yeah. Well, how would we rate this, Mac?
I would rate this season so far as, I'll say, 4 people being buried alive in the sand.
Sure.
Because it's not perfect and it's not like high art, but it's very entertaining, and I've obviously enjoyed it because I've watched it more than once.
I mean, for what it does it. It does the job, gets the job done. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I mean, Merle's death with all the viscera that are just like flooding out of him. I mean, that is, if you like that kind of thing, they do that really, really well. And then to come back and have somebody like step on like his liver or something. I mean, it's just like, it's sick, but it's funny. And yeah, the deaths are really, really good in the show.
A highlight.
And like the Jaden one is just so.
Oh my God. I will never forget it.
No, I will never forget it.
You won't forget it.
Well, I mean, Spencer's is horrible, but he's such an asshole. You don't really care. I mean, of course you don't want to see anybody in that kind of pain, but then again.
Well, so the more we're learning about him.
Super appropriate death.
Mm-hmm.
What have we learned from this, Mac?
if you have like bad feelings about your family, like as soon as you can, like get out and like cut ties. Don't go back for the reunion. They haven't changed.
Mhm.
Like leave. You know, there's like several times where some characters are kind of like, why did I come back? And it's like, yeah, big mistake. Like all the money in the world isn't worth it. Like, of course, like until you get to a place, if you can, to like get out. But if you can, get out. If you have a bad feeling, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a lot actually on this show. People don't change that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if somebody was cruel to you when you were 5 years old, odds are they're going to be cruel to you when you're 25 years old. And, yeah. But I also learned that, David Cronenberg is an incredibly appealing person to watch. You know,
Yeah.
I enjoy his art a lot, but I enjoyed seeing him on the screen as well.
Me too. He's lovely.
He really is. Would we watch this again?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
I already have.
Who wins the You Fool Award? I mean,
I don't know. They're all kind of.
I hate to say this, but I think Christy is in the running.
Oh yeah,
She,
especially from what we see later.
yeah,
like girl, you had a red banner. Like she has such bad judgment
on so many levels.
on so many levels.
Yeah, I think she might be in the running.
Yeah.
Also, maybe Liv though, because I mean, obviously she has the wherewithal that other people don't have. So
Yeah. Well,
at this point, it seems like maybe, yeah, but more will be revealed. I don't have any trivia for this, so I'll try to pull some together for the next time. But yeah, this is a good choice, Mac. I like the show.
Yay! I'm so glad.
Yeah. Well, thank you, WoHos, for joining us for this episode and for all your support. It means the world of horror to us truly. Next time, we will finish up our two-parter on slashers with episodes 5 through 8 of Slasher Season 4, Flesh and Blood, and Dream Home from Hong Kong. Until then, remember, we love you, and don't go into the basement.
I like that. That was really fun.
It was really fun.